So I know it seems to be America's pastime to talk about election interference when it comes to, the Russiagate scandal, which is a complete hoax that people still to this day want to talk about, or the possibility of China hacking the elections, or Venezuela, or a Latin American country, God only knows. But what about domestic election interference? The same interference that we see constantly every single election cycle. Almost like to the point that you don't even live in a democracy. You live in an oligarchy posed as a democracy to keep people thinking that you have choices. Because if you think you have choices, you're not actually going to revolt. And case in point of what happened recently in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania just had early election voting. And what this guy is pointing out, DC Drano points out, if you want to know what a third world elections looks like, here it is. Cops shutting down voter lines because too many Republicans are voting. This isn't in Cuba or Venezuela. This is in Pennsylvania. So not let them stop you from voting. And they have on this cop here that you're about to see here, shutting down the ballot boxes that are supposed to be open until I think 5 o'clock. And they're shutting it down mid-afternoon to stop people from voting, primarily in a more Republican district. So look at this.
It's 2:41, and they are ending the line.
So the lady says it's 2:41, like mid-afternoon. They still got hours to go to allow people to vote, and they're already shutting down the line by this cop who looks like he's auditioning for Saturday Night Fever there. He's got the boogie. Look at that. Look at that. He's got the boogie going on. Yeah, sway those hips.
2:41, and they are ending the line.
Two of them. Wow. I can't believe it takes the Boogie Master and some other cop to get a sign to close down an election. And again, if you want to talk about interference, you want to spend this conversation talking about who's actually involved in meddling the election, look no further than your own country itself. Look no further than that. Look no further than the lobby firms that don't allow for people to have a democratic process. Look in for that. Look into the fact that you're using electronic computers that don't necessarily work. I've seen how many videos that are compiling of people trying to vote for one candidate and it doesn't work and it flips to the other candidate. Or the fact that 11-year-olds can hack the system. You want to talk about a fair and safe election? Let's discuss those notions. But of course, they don't actually mean it. They don't actually mean any of it. They don't care about interference. They don't care about democracy. They don't care about interference. It's as much control as possible. And we just got to pretend that you have a choice. And the reason you don't have a choice is somehow Russia's fault because we want to make Russia the boogeyman. We've wanted you to hate Russia for the longest time, or hate China, or hate Venezuela for the longest time. And now we have the opportunity to do so because guess what? It's election year. And, oh, well, if we get Trump, that's obviously something to do with Russia. It's nothing to do with the fact that, people want to vote for a candidate that best represents them. And we have a system, a diabolical system in America that prevents people from their democratic duties, as they champion for being the saviors of democracy. How crazy is that? Here's another one. This is not Venezuela, points this guy George. This is Pennsylvania in the United States of America, where cops are blocking most likely Trump voters from voting. This happened at 4:38 p.m. in Bucks County, well before 5 p.m. when polls are supposed to close. They do not lead the line. Stay and vote. And look at this. There's people lined up. There's people lined up, and they're restricting them from going inside. Look at that. They still have over half an hour. They're restricting people from entering into the building to cast their ballots in a predominantly Trump area. Gee, I wonder why specifically that part of the country. I wonder if they do the same thing in, Manhattan, New York, or Seattle, Washington, or Los Angeles. Well, of course, they're already blue no matter who states, so it's not like we have to restrict those votes. Wow. I can't believe, and Democrats are running on a ticket to protect democracy. How crazy that is, and that's happening under their nose. So now the New York Times is also putting in their interference by reminding you how dangerous YouTube is. And what I'm supposing is the next coming of the adpocalypse, if people remember. That was when the boogeymen of the federal government, the boogeyman of corporations and cable companies collided together to scare advertisers away from YouTube, away from social media, because God forbid they're hurting traditional media. They're hurting the legacy media that propagates you and panders to panders to its viewers by giving them misinformation instead of and they're smoshing down YouTubers and people on social media accounts. That happened in 2017, I do believe. And here it just seems like another infestation again, saying election falsehoods take off on YouTube as it looks the other way. This is from the New York Times by a guy by the name of Nico Grant, who reports on YouTube and Google from San Francisco. We could talk about San Francisco, a lot of the problems there, but no, let's talk about how people with podcasts are the most dangerous people, including figures like, as you saw in that photo there, Tucker Carlson. Surprise, surprise. Tucker Carlson, who shows he got messaged. He got actually text messages from the author of this article, Nico Grant. So it goes on to say, "Good day, Mr. Carlson. I hope you're well. I'm Nico Grant, a reporter at the New York Times. I want to give you an opportunity to comment for an upcoming article that takes a look at how political commentators have discussed the upcoming election on YouTube. We rely on analysis conducted by researchers at Media Matters for America. Here are the points we plan to include. Media Matters identifies 286 YouTube videos between May and August that contain election misinformation, including narratives that have been debunked or are not supported with credible evidence. Researchers identified videos posted by you in those 4 months that contain election misinformation." So, if I got this message from this guy, if someone from a Canadian publication tried to text me this crap, I'd block this. I know this is a scam already. The fact that you right there in the obvious, right there, you obviously pointed out that you're doing this to attack the person you're contacting. Hey, I want you to comment on this article and the fact that you're a dirty propagandist. You're a misinformer, even though you're a credible journalist who got fired for telling the truth. He didn't get fired for lying. He got promoted to CNN, MSNBC, to Fox News, to all these different cable outlets. He had people like Rachel Maddow on. He had all sorts of people when you're a liar. But if you tell the truth, God forbid, which he finally did, he finally told people what was going on in Syria. He spoke up against Ukraine. He brought on RFK Jr. to talk about vaccines. That's when he got fired. That's when people railed against him, said how dangerous of a man he is, and now they're still continuing to do so to create the next apocalypse on YouTube. Because God forbid us podcasters that are telling you information and giving you reliable sources are a dangerous threat to the misinformation trope of legacy media. It also says, we feature a clip of you saying all the sadness we've ever had, the clearly stolen election, all these bad things happen, but people I know love each other more. I also have a few questions. Are you a member of the YouTube Partner Program? If so, how frequently does your YouTube demonetize your videos? Has YouTube sent you messages, emails, or notices in the last year that your content contains misinformation? So why would a New York Times reporter, a journalist, want to ask Tucker Carlson specifically those questions? Specifically questions on his YouTube channel and whether or not it got demonetized or not. Well, maybe because he wanted to write this article stating that people like Tucker Carlson, also Ben Shapiro, Tim Pool, Michael Knowles, I don't know who, that's Rudy Giuliani. I don't know who the guy at the bottom there is, but they want to coincide all these people, and even some, predominant left voices like Jimmy Dore. They want to put those people together and say they're misinformers to create this apocalypse situation so that they can demonetize and take away more and more voices on the internet to push more of these shill establishment tropes like this guy who want to lie to you, who will purposely misinform you, and then go after Tucker Carlson saying that he's the misinformer. But where's his credible sources? Where's his understanding? Because at least Tucker Carlson and people like Joe Rogan can show you the information in real time as they're reporting it to you. These people are going off just basic biases from their corporate headquarters. So he then responds, thank you for this time. Tucker Carlson chimes in and says, so the New York Times is working with a left-wing hate group to silence critics of the Democratic Party. Please ask yourself why you're participating in it. This is why you got into journalism? It's shameful. I hope you're filled your guilt and self-loathing for sending me a text like this. Please quote me. So then the Nico guy says, thank you for your prompt response. We would like to address any of the would you like to address any of the points or questions above? So the reason he's doing this, he's trying to trap Tucker Carlson, but Tucker Carlson is actually a smart individual and sees the game right in front of him. He sees exactly what this text is revealing. That this is a guy who wants to demonetize Tucker Carlson, who wants to kick him off the internet, and wants to write an article, a hit piece smear, on people like him so that he can advance his journalism on ethics, because there's no real ethics to this guy. He's not even really a journalist at this point, so really just a smear merchant. Advance his career to protect legacy media away from truth tellers, away from people that actually critique the status quo, which is what journalism is supposed to be. So Tucker Carlson says, would I like to participate in your attempt to censor me? No thanks. But I do hope you'll quote what I wrote above and also note that I told you to fuck off, which I'm doing right now. Thanks. So that's incredible. That is incredible. That now they're deliberately texting people like Tucker Carlson so that they can write articles like this. To think that somehow Tucker Carlson was going to be that dumb or that naive to believe that this New York Times journalist, and I use that term lightly, that this New York Times smear merchant is texting him, asking him for a quote because he's concerned about misinformation on elections. No, it's to write a hit piece on one of their biggest competitors. The fact that Tucker Carlson is a big competitor. Same with Joe Rogan. Same with any of these other podcasters. It's a direct threat that people are going away from traditional legacy media that's lied to them throughout this whole entire process that they're paying money towards and they go towards alternative media. They go towards podcasts. They go towards YouTubers. They go towards independent journalists on X. They go towards investigators that write articles on Substack because they're sick and tired of this garbage. They're sick and tired of it. And they want a different voice. They want a second opinion. Not the same crap you would hear from CNN to MSNBC to ABC to CBS. They want a second opinion on not just the election, but just the world as a whole. And that's why a lot of these now up-and-coming podcasters are more relevant than ever, and why the threat is real on censorship, on how they're trying to demonetize and displatform these people away from the internet so that people can see an alternative voice and cultivates them to be brainwashed by the legacy machine and create this new adpocalypse, which they're trying to do right now, saying that there's election falsehoods. As you just saw, police officers blocking people from voting. Did the New York Times write about that? No. But they'll write garbage like this.